places, please. 5 seconds.
Adjust your mojo.
You are about to participate in a great adventure.
Now.
At age, 60? He's just gonna break bad?
Radio with an attitude.
This system that we love is broken.
I know that.
Do not comply.
Hey, mother.
Welcome to another 2 hours of common sense.
That liberty and justice for all is a myth.
And erratic behavior.
You want to, but you can't. And when you do, you wish you didn't.
This is your Daily MoJo.
For Wednesday, we are almost a whole week into the month of March, the year of our Lord 2025. It's to say time is marching on is an understatement. Yeah. I can't believe we are almost a quarter of the year done. Isn't it weird? I mean,
yeah, it's going by fast.
Does it not feel like it's just? Yeah, it is going by amazingly fast. Of course, last night was a huge event happened in the nation's capital. There was a little speech given by the President of the United States. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch the speech.
I did.
Is that well, we have our man on the street who was actually there. Mark Halprin is and that's Bambi, our videographer.
Yeah.
There, you may ask, why did we shoot videotape of him and then have only an audio recording of the man? And I say, stop asking so damn many questions. Mark Halprin is here with the report from the speech that President Donald Trump gave last night.
Last night, President Donald Trump, the 47th President of the United States, delivered his first address to a joint session of Congress since returning to office on January 20th,
yes, he did.
2025. The speech, clocking in at a record-breaking 100 minutes,
Whoa.
the longest presidential address to Congress in modern history, was a primetime spectacle held in the House chamber of the U.S. Capitol.
Is that where it was?
Yes.
Presided over by...
Well, I guess we've... Wait, Mark, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Did you notice anything weird about the speech last night? Anything unusual?
Anything unusual?
Yes. Yeah.
I noticed Nancy Pelosi looked like she'd been sucking hard.
Whoa, hang on.
On a lemon.
That's interesting. Mark Halprin, thank you for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure, and give our best to Bambi. Ron, can you, in a better way than Mark Halprin did, can you summarize the president's speech from last night in Washington, D.C.?
I don't know if I can summarize. Yeah, he was speaking to one side of the room, period, because the other side of the room was asleep or gone or hateful or didn't give a shit about being there. That's what it was last night. It was miserable watching those people on the left side of the room.
Skanks.
It was just miserable because, where you should stand up and at least out of respect for the people in the gallery that he's calling out that have nothing to do with politics should at least stand and clap. They didn't. They sat on their hands.
But did Republicans not do the same damn thing when Biden was in office?
I don't remember them being that kind of disrespectful. No.
So, in the opening words of his speech, Trump gave a shout out to a lot of people, including the First Lady.
He did.
Hold on a second. Can you tell from this image who the Democrats are?
Yes.
Is it because they're wearing some sort of a special color, maybe a silly pin? Is that how you can tell who they are?
No, they're sitting on their asses.
Huh. That's better than sitting on their heads, I suppose. But again, that's not unusual.
That is not
it?
correct.
I mean, that's That's the standard. And let's not forget, we're talking about Congress here, who going back, a couple hundred years, they've been the subject of jabs, and I mean, and deservedly so. Because you get a lot of you get some good people in Congress, but you also get a lot of what's the proper word, dicks in there as well, and that goes for both sides of the gender spectrum. But anyway, he goes on here.
Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States.
Now watch this. This is. She's an attractive woman.
Very. Yes.
I'd go so far as to say hot. For an old chick. How old is she?
I don't know.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
Now, we've heard that before. Now, wait a second. Can you tell from this image who the Democrats are?
Yep.
Huh. Sure can. Did they coordinatedly wear pink? Was there a reason for that?
Yeah. Wearing pink it was for women. Something about Donald Trump is not good for women, or whatever the case may be.
Not good for women.
That's not what it was exactly, but it was something having to do with women, while at the same time, every one of them in pink over there voted against the boys and girls sports.
Well, that's irrelevant.
Is it?
That's irrelevant. Just because
every one of them. Just because they are two-faced, no-good scumbags doesn't make them bad people. Does it? It's the same. This is the same game they play every year. From one side or another. Yep.
Now,
it was
USA.
It was
USA.
a ruckus get together. I can tell you that.
It was a bit. Yes, it was a ruckus. And again, they're up there acting all patriotic and whatnot. Don't forget, though, the same. Not of course the same people, person to person, but the same group of people after 9/11 got out there and sang "Kumbaya" on the front steps of the Capitol. Yeah. And so don't get overly excited about their enthusiastic support for, quote unquote, our guy.
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Now, I wonder if Pam Bondi was listening to that.
She was right in the front row.
I'm still not happy with her.
A lot of people aren't.
Still not.
Yeah.
I'm still not happy with her, and I probably should cut her some more. Is that Gene Hackman?
That is not Gene Hackman. Pretty sure that's not Gene Hackman.
Are you sure it's not Gene Hackman? It did kind of look like him over there to the right. Again, these speeches, while they can make you feel good, don't get too excited about them, because it's just a speech. Now, it is a chance for Donald Trump to get up there and kind of wipe their noses in the successes that we've had so far.
Yeah.
Which is, it's nice. It's a nice, and for a change, watching a speech like this doesn't piss me off royally. And we don't have, 70, 90% of the press corps out there pretending that the guy standing up there in the front is lucid and sane and not old, feeble, and 1 foot in the grave. Because that's what we had the last 4 years. Watching Joe Biden up there just trying to string words together that made any sense at all, to a man who can actually put words together in a series of sounds that make sense, that are logical. I mean, again, when you get to that point in history, we're just happy we got a guy up there, not only who can speak in full interrupted sentences, but actually makes sense and is doing something that I think is right for the country. There are people who would disagree. But I think the real amazing part is the fact that the Democrats there's Hakeem Jeffries, isn't it? No. That's not Hakeem Jeffries. Go ahead, Ron. Say it.
Say what? That's not Hakeem Jeffries.
They don't all look alike.
Oh, good Lord.
What?
That's Tim Scott.
Because I thought that, yes. It does kind of look like Hakeem Jeffries.
No, it doesn't.
Not even a little bit?
No, but there's Adam Shifty down at the bottom.
Well, he's got a dad. He looks like he's been sucking on a lemon, doesn't he?
The whole damn time, yeah.
It really does. He has a look of disgust. I hope he has a look of fear on his face. But Nancy Pelosi's reaction to this whole thing was, did you see any of the clips of her?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every time they cut to her, she was chewing cud or looking around or holding onto the cane, shaking. I mean, it was...
Or rubbing the cane against her face. Did you notice that?
I didn't see... Well, I probably saw it. I didn't recognize that that's what she was doing. But, yeah, she was anything but smiling or clapping or anything.
Was it a cane or was it an umbrella?
That's a good question. Al Green had a cane. Piece of shit.
Yes, he did. Yeah, it did. 47. Do you know he was a justice of the peace?
Who, Al Green?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't surprise me.
He started his career down in Houston, justice of the peace for a number of years. He's been in Congress now for what, 23, 4? I think in total 47 years of quote unquote public service, otherwise known as living at the teat of the taxpayer.
Yeah.
As a reminder, here is Nancy Pelosi from. Two traitorous individuals standing behind the President of the United States. In retrospect, is there a dime's bit of difference between the dude on the left there being Mike Pence and the dude on the right there being Nancy Pelosi? Which one would you rather have as an enemy?
As an enemy?
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, let me phrase it this way. Which one I would rather have to face off against Nancy Pelosi. At least you know what you're getting. I mean, you're getting a vile creature of the night there. With Mike Pence, I mean, what a smiling weasel that guy is.
Well,
he's the kind that at least you'd see Pelosi coming up and swinging the knife at you. Pence would be giving you a big old hug and then driving it into your kidneys. What a giant. Ugh. But what a difference. How many years ago was this?
At least 5.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was posted by The Guardian. It's only had 1 million views. The comment there, the most impressive thing is Mike Pence acting classy and pretending he didn't see that she was ripping up the speech. He probably didn't even see that she reacted, that she reached out. He didn't shake Pence's hand either. Did he not?
No, he just handed him the document, but she reached out when she handed him the document, and he didn't shake her hand.
He blew her off?
Yeah.
Oh, he's afraid he was going to get syphilis or something like that. Let me see the...
direct dichotomy to last night where he shook both their hands.
Yeah, but still, Mike Johnson...
He had the most facial expressions last night. It was
Johnson?
Yeah, it was funny watching him. J.D. Vance sat there. He would smile and laugh, but he wasn't doing facial expressions during Trump's speech, where Mike Johnson was the whole time.
Again, having not, there's so look at who doesn't love Mike or J.D. Vance?
When he was born.
I don't even bat from that side of the plate, but I just want to go over there and give him a big old kiss.
He's a good-looking dude. When he was born? What year? Just give me the year J.D. Vance was born.
72.
Negative.
When?
84.
Son of a bitch. We've got kid. Wait a minute. We've got a kid as the vice president of the United States. I don't know how I feel about
dude,
this.
he's 41. Thank you very much. Well, he'll be 41 in August. Yeah.
It's wow. That's 2 years after I graduated high school.
That was the year I graduated high school. Now I feel old.
80. You should. All right. Who did this? And there is that's Nancy Pelosi there, not only chewing on her cud, but notice
with her Smirnoff bottle. That's funny.
But notice the up and down in the seat, like she's trying to get away from the giant pool of diarrhea that's collecting
she farted
in her drawers. One of the two. Here's the let's see, the original. Let's see. I think this actually might just be a still, though. When you say still around Nancy, you got to be careful because she's looking forward to it. This is, there's a still. Now, is that just like
it could be an umbrella
wrapped around her cane? Or
could be.
But what would she be doing with an umbrella in the house? Can you even bring an umbrella in there?
I don't know. Maybe she was using it as a walking cane. Yeah.
That's just a weird look on her face, is it not? She might actually have one of those canes that has the removable top to it.
The little dagger in it.
Right. Well, either that or booze. But she just looked. I mean, she did the cud chewing. Here's another good angle, if there is such a thing as a good angle of Nancy Pelosi. What in the hell is she doing? I so badly wanted to add some.
Yeah, she was chewing cud all night. Every time they went to her.
She doesn't look good, does she?
She's getting older.
So's Trump. He doesn't look bad. I mean, Joe Biden, looks bad, but Nancy Pelosi just does not look good.
I do remember a time Bradley saying, I would have done it.
Oh, yeah. I have said she's hot. Now, if you look back at pictures of Nancy Pelosi from 1872, I think you'll find that she's not entirely unfortunate looking. No, I'll absolutely own that one. You can't scare me with that at all. Yeah. Now, looking at her today, I mean, she's looking every bit of her 136-year-old age. If you want to be a part of the program, get your opinion, comment, criticism, concern aired. Use the hashtag What I Learned Today. You can tag us in said comments at Real Brad Staggs, at Real Ron Phillips. And, of course, if you download the Daily MoJo app at thedailymojo.com, you can send us a note on the app. And we will likely, I check mine. Do you check yours, Ron?
What's that, the app?
On your messages.
Yeah, for some reason my messages had stopped working for a while, but I got back into it. So, yeah, I do.
It stopped working?
Yes. I had an error in the app. I had to uninstall the app and reinstall it.
Ah, gotcha.
It wouldn't even let me log in, actually.
Any that you want to read to us? I mean, I share mine.
Let me look. I'll look while you're talking.
You don't have to do it. Deuce 5 over on the X says, I'm fairly certain Pelosi was trying to fart throughout the speech. She just couldn't get it out. Either that or it turned out to be, in fact, a shart. The vice president is 40. Meanwhile, I'm 49. I've never had a business card during my professional career. F. I thought about what was I watching that somebody was giving somebody a card. Oh, I know what it was. I was watching what's his name on YouTube? Not Jeremy. The guy who does the UFO stuff, who did an interview with the remote viewer yesterday. Jesse Michaels. Boom. Huh? How about that?
Well,
how did you hear how
straight out
quickly?
your ass? Yeah.
Did you not hear how quickly that thing came out? And I think it's the methylene blue.
Let me get over there.
I really do.
Yeah.
Have you been taking your methylene blue yet? Ron?
I don't know what that is. No, I have not been taking that.
You should listen to a show that's called the Daily MoJo. We talked about it last week.
Oh, no, I know you've talked about
blue.
it, but I don't know what it is.
You haven't looked into it?
No, I have
you
not.
Didn't want to. You don't want to make your mental faculties a little bit sharper so you can pull right out of your butt just like I did? Huh?
Well, it took you about 10 minutes to get there, but you finally pulled it out.
Wow.
Jeremy, YouTube.
It took about 30 seconds. I worked through it. Did I not work through it?
You worked through it.
I worked through it. I got to Jesse Michaels, who, again, was sent to me by Audrey, and I appreciate that. But now, see, I forgot what the hell I was going to say.
That methylene blue is working, isn't it?
It is working. See, you got me all down the other track. No, the remote viewing, what was it? It was... you were looking for your messages to read on the air.
Yep. Mine are, nobody loves me anymore, so all my messages are weeks old. So
I think that really, there you go. In any event, seriously, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, download the app at thedailymojo.com. Be a part of the program and get your opinion out there. Pecan Pie 82 says, "Whoa, wait, Ed Bard, you used to love some Nancy Pelosi."
Yeah,
I did.
What I'm saying.
And honestly, we had kind of a nasty breakup. It was back in the 90s, the 1890s. We didn't see eye to eye anymore. Oh, the cards. Thank you. The cards. I was thinking, wouldn't it be great? Methylene blue.
It brought you right back to it. It did its job.
Brought
There you
me
go.
right back to it. Cards, I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool just to have a card and it doesn't say anything else other than your name on one side and your phone number on the back? Wouldn't that be, that's kind of a neat card because it never, you can use that until you're dead.
You could, as long as you have that phone number. Yeah.
I've had the same phone number now for about 30 years. So I don't think there's any danger of me getting rid of it. But anyway, so it's a good idea to get those cards. Over in the, we got the Daily MoJo chat room here going on. Whoa, just got some extra airtime this Sunday. Sunday Long Live Radio with Rhea Bow. I have no idea what that means, Lep, but good for you.
Yeah, she used to be on the MoJo station, Rhea. Yeah, it was long live radio. So it's about a 4 or 5 hour radio show. Sounds like he's going to be on it with her.
That just sounds.
There you go.
Exhausting.
She's in England, by the way. Does her show over there.
What? Across the pond?
Across the pond.
Yeah. Spins is in the Rumble chat room. She's the 360-year-old from Social Security. We found her. Right, and she's not dead.
Dude, listening to him go through those ages and how many Social Security payouts were happening. He got to like 140, and there were still millions of payouts every year. And he went in decades, right? 140 to 149, 150 to 159. He said there's one person who's 360 years old getting a payout on Social Security.
But that doesn't mean that that's what's happening. Haven't you not seen all of the...
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. The
people... That's not what's happening. That's not what's going on. Why are you saying that? That's not real. And yet for whatever reason, it seems like it...
There's probably 7 million people over the age of 120 getting a payout in Social Security. He made the comment. He said, "This person who's 360 years old is like 100 years older than our country. How is that even possible?"
Somebody put it most succinctly with regard to why they're so freaked out about the whole USAID thing. The steps through which money flows. I'll read that here in just a minute. First, though, a quick check-in with the Ronster and his fabulous, incredible, hand-turned wooden pens that are now on a special sale price this month only.
Yep, this month only.
Why? Talk to us, Ron.
We want people to be able to experience the pens, and we thank you for everybody who's bought one this week, and hopefully more will purchase throughout the month of March while we're at a lower price.
You're drunk, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're drunk. That's why you didn't want to say anything.
Pickle juice.
Well, no, you brought up a really good word. You brought up the word experience.
Yeah.
And that is what people want now. They want an experience. It's like I'm not just buying a pen.
It's a story, right? It is a story. You got to think about it. As a matter of fact, the pens that I'm making this week were purchased yesterday, and thank you, Kevin. But one of these pens is for a infant who hasn't been born yet, but will go in a drawer for that infant to have later in life because it matches the pens from their parents. And so, I think that's a great idea. I mean, these are great heirloom pens. They really are. They're well built.
I was adding to the story.
Yeah. And so thank you for that. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. I have fun.
That's all you have to say about that.
No, I have fun making these pens. So thank you.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Hell of an experience. You can get yours right now at mojolaserpros.com. What I rolled the red carpet out for you.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And they do. They're incredible pens. I don't want to take away from that because they are amazing. They are good. They write so good. They really do.
I have a brief story real quick. I had a gentleman reach out to me yesterday to ask me if I could engrave on a Mont Blanc pen. Everybody knows what those are. Mont Blanc? Yeah. When he sent me the picture of the pen and the price tag next to it, I went,
oh, hell no.
I went, man, I'd love to do that, but if I screw that up, I'm not going to be able to fix it. $895.
Whoa.
God bless him. I wanted to do it.
That pen must make all kinds of biscuits. It must have really soft hands.
I'm like, wow, whoever gets that pen, that's a nice gift. My pens are better, but okay. So.
Wait, so you turned down the job?
I did turn down the $895 Mont Blanc, just like 4 other awards companies had before me. So now, Mont Blanc, they were going to buy it directly. They hadn't bought it yet, but Mont Blanc personalizes their pens. I said, that's your better bet, because if they screw it up, they will just simply replace it. Yeah. I mean, there are some jobs that you want to take and some jobs you don't want to take.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, better to err on the side of caution. I get
or
it.
on my bank account. Yeah. Good point.
That too. So, all right. So go to mojolaserpros.com today and get your incredible executive pen right now. Handcrafted, hand-turned, loved on by the one and only real Ron Phillips. mojolaserpros.com.
The Daily Mojo.
All right, checking in over on the in the Rumble chat room. Missy13 says, I see idiots on Facebook who still think they're going to lose their stuff. And other people that I know who are still incredibly afraid that, and I still am not really sure what they thought Donald Trump was going to do to the trans community. And I had friends who were like, oh, I've got family members who are trans, and they are going to have to hide for the next 4 years because they're afraid for their life. Can someone please explain
why? Yeah, why are you afraid for your life?
Cannot figure that one out.
It's some delusionment. That's what it is. There's
It is.
What are you afraid of?
I guess they can't. I don't know. I really, truly don't know. It is, it's baffling to me. Wombat Mommy Experience, isn't that code for a used up whore, or am I thinking of someone else? Wow. Tough room. And hate everybody over in the Daily MoJo chat room as well. We're going to be talking with Peter Schwartz coming up, not Phil Schwartz. Phil Schwartz is a magic dealer online that I had in my brain for some reason. I think mainly because I have done business with him in the past. But we've got other wins to talk about. And by the way, he's a pardoned January 6er who was going to be on with us a couple of weeks ago, but was actually on his way to Washington, D.C. For CPAC. So he couldn't make it. So we're going to have him on with us this morning. But the wins keep on coming. I guess this would be considered a win, right? I mean, you decide.
Now, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser saying that the name of Black Lives Matter Plaza will be changed amid growing pressure from Republicans. The mayor making that announcement just moments ago, saying, quote, the mural inspired millions of people and helped our city through a very painful period. But now we can't afford to be distracted by meaningless congressional interference. There have been efforts in Congress to force the district to change Black Lives Matter Plaza or lose federal funding.
So are they doing it because they are going to lose that funding? I mean, is that really, or are they finding that they're not getting the reaction that they want anymore? Is it finally somehow are things starting to roll the other way? And I think that may be the case. I don't know if you saw yesterday. I retweeted this is Dom Luker on the X. This is at a Waffle House, and Ron, I know that you've got some.
I've got some experience
at the Waffle Houses.
Yep.
Black people and white people dancing and singing together to Kodak Black's "No Flockin'" at a Waffle House in Melbourne, Florida. It has been going viral, and I mean, there's white people, there's black people. It's like the Red House furniture. Am I right? I mean, black people and white people getting along. Someone else responded to this tweet and said, "Look, this is no Waffle House. This is a Waffle Home." Am I right?
There you go.
Finally, it's possible. Oh, look, this one. My response got a little attention. Didn't notice that, but I did respond to the Dom Luker's tweet. And notice I'm saying tweet, and I don't even care. I don't care anymore what people say. But I responded with this, the Red House Furniture spot. Do you remember this one, Ron? Remember seeing Red House Furniture?
I think so.
Officers respond.
Oh, that's not the right one. What did I just do? That was weird.
It probably got to the end of it. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Get along at the Red House Furniture. We can.
At the Red House.
I'm Richard, a.k.a. Big Head. I work at the Red House, and I'm black.
At the Red
I like pumping iron and pumping furniture into people's homes.
I'm Johnny, a.k.a. 10 Gauge. I work at the Red House, and I'm white. I like deer hunting, bass fishing, and extending credit to all people.
At the Red House.
You not remember Rhett and Link?
I'm black and I love the Red House.
I'm white and I love the Red House.
I'm a black woman and I love the Red House.
I am white and the Red House is for me.
At the Red House.
Miss Rhett and Link, they do have a show they do on X. I think it's on X.
YouTube.
Maybe it's YouTube.
Yeah.
Every morning. But the responses again to this, to Dom Luker's tweet are pretty amazing. Racism is completely dead for normal Americans. The radicals are the only racist left. And that's, I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but you don't see, I mean, are there still racists out there? Of course there are. There always will be. There's always going to be a dumbass somewhere. But they have done, and when I say they, the people in D.C. have gone into overtime over the past, almost 20 years to try to get us to be at each other's throats out here. And when you see them starting to paint over, I mean, why else would you paint over the Black Lives Matter Plaza? Is it all about money? Because I mean, her excuse didn't make any sense. We don't need to be distracted by congressional something or other, and I don't know how you were being distracted by Congress. But is that the reason that they finally painted over it, or was it not getting any of the attention, the positive attention that they were looking for anymore?
Well, it's been like that for what, 3 or 4 years now.
You mean it's been Black Lives Matter Plaza?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. It's been longer than that. When did they do that?
Maybe they did it during Trump's first.
At the end. Yeah, I think they did. When did it become BLM Plaza? June 5th, 2020.
Yeah, so right at the beginning of Biden.
Yeah.
No. 21.
Well,
didn't Biden take over in 21?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so yeah, right.
So this was before the election of 2020. But something just doesn't smell right. There's a reason. There's a reason, and I don't think it's just the money in D.C. that caused them to paint over. Somebody suggested that they rename it All Lives Matter. Why can't it be American Lives Matter Plaza? The bottom line is this. I think people have just had it up to their eyeballs with the forced racism and all of this other crap that they've been trying to divide us with over the years now.
I don't think I've ever experienced the hatred that I experienced the day or the afternoon after Trump and Zelensky had their little spat. It was on X, and I'm watching people lose their shit about America, about how they hate America because of the way we're treating Ukraine and Zelensky. America is they kept calling Zelensky the leader of the free world. And I'm thinking, what drugs are you smoking?
I know.
Those words would ever come out of your mouth while you're receiving the benefits of living in this country. You piece of shit. And there were a bunch of them.
It's really...
I mean, I unfriended probably 30 people on my Facebook page because of their stupid-ass comments.
Why'd you get rid of all your... that's beautiful content.
Is it? No. It might be good show content, but I don't want them on my Facebook page. Assholes.
Yeah, I don't...
come on, dude. It's like you're spitting in the face of every veteran.
Yeah. I know. I don't understand how these people get so freaked out about something that seems like it was good. Now, this was the tweet I was talking about earlier, posted by Crazy Vibes. This is how it's done. We are taxed. Taxes go to USAID. Leftists create an NGO. The NGO is funded by USAID. Leftists in NGO do zero real work. The NGO pays leftists huge salaries. Those leftists donate their salaries from NGO to the Democrats. That's why Democrats are freaking out over Trump and Elon killing USAID. Simple. That's it. That is it in a nutshell right there, why they are so freaked out about USAID going bye-bye. It really is that simple. It was between that and all the money flowing into Ukraine. And these useful idiots out here on the ground crying about how we need to support Ukraine because, well, Ukraine. Because all of that money was getting recirculated and funneled right back into the Democrat Party. That one is an easy one to figure out. It is time real quickly here for a visit from Big Mike and Uncle Phil Bell, and his morning update.
This is Phil Bell on the Daily MoJo with your morning update. By now you know how awesome a speech President Trump gave last night. And by now you've also heard about DJ Daniel, the 13-year-old young man who survived brain cancer and was appointed a deputy in the U.S. Secret Service, and Jason Hartley, the man who was applying to a service academy and had his application with an over 4.0 GPA, by the way, accepted by President Trump right there on the House floor. Those stories really moved me, but not because of the emotion. They moved me because those are two young men who have done the work to overcome their difficulties. Hartley overcoming the death of his father, Daniel overcoming a cancer diagnosis. For far too long in America, we wanted to honor people simply because of their existence. We wanted to honor them because of their skin color. We wanted to honor them because of their sex. We wanted to honor them because of weirdness they got themselves involved in. We wanted to honor them simply for having a hard time. And that's not right. No one should be honored for those things. We should be honored for perseverance. We should be honored for hard work. We should be honored for leading others. The two young men that President Trump recognized during that speech have done just that. And that is what makes America great again. So what I hope each and every one of you in this audience will do is recognize the importance of what President Trump did there and apply that in your daily lives. Let's get back to honoring people who are willing to achieve, willing to work hard, and willing to put themselves where they need to be in order to find success, because that will make America thrive once again. I want you to leave in the comments your thoughts on this, and I want you to also download the Daily MoJo smartphone app and enable notifications. That way you'll be up to date on the latest craziness and good stuff coming out of Washington, D.C., and you'll know how to share it with others. We'll see you down the line, and thanks for choosing the Daily MoJo.
Phil Bell's morning update is only on the Daily MoJo.com. If you're offended, you're listening wrong. The Daily MoJo.
Over in the Daily MoJo chat room right now, Lisa Tutt says abolish NGOs. Absolutely. Again, they are and we didn't get into this, we got into the NGO discussion yesterday with our very own physicist, a self-actualizing physicist, in Robert Labella, who I love talking with. Dude is so smart and has an incredible breadth of knowledge. But we talked about the non-governmental organizations that are used by the federal government in a lot of cases. Remember back in 2020, the election of 2020, the story about those servers that were stolen from Germany. Where was that? Hamburg? I can't remember exactly where it was, but the idea was that that's where all of the number manipulation was on those servers. And I was told by a reliable source that, in fact, it was because there was some controversy over whether or not I think it was the Army went in and took the servers. But I was told by reliable sources that it was an NGO that got in there and was able to remove those servers. Again, my philosophy now is, if I'm not standing in front of it and I don't see it, I don't know if it's true, but that made the most sense, that you'd have an NGO that was funded by the government, which technically doesn't that make them kind of a government agency? But it was an NGO that was actually able to whisk those servers away. And it's just a way to get around the rules. These people in Washington are really, really, really good at it. Sorry, I was reading Wombat Mommy's comment at the same time I was trying to speak. To make a hat for Mike, I would need measurements, and I'm scared to do that. Put something on the mic. Missy13, Bart, I'm not up to date on news, but why are you mad or disappointed with Pam Bondi? Come on, Missy. The Epstein files. We still have not. Now, she went on Mark Levin's show. Gosh, was it Sunday night? I think on Fox, where she said, wow, we found out through a whistleblower in New York that there were thousands of documents that they were withholding, and that, they hadn't turned over all of the Epstein files to her so that she could go through them. But something still is not right. We don't have the whole story on that, because it doesn't make sense. After she went on record as saying, look, I've gone through these files. It's nasty what this guy did. We're going to release them, and, just be prepared, because it's heinous stuff. And then we get that document dump on, was it Friday, where it was 200 documents, much of which had been released to the public before and unclassified. I mean, and then the whole social media influencer release party, in quotes, where they were given the binders and then marched out in front of the cameras. There's something is not right. Again, this could be an operation that she and Kash Patel, the new director of the FBI, have come up with to really put the hammer down on him. I don't know. Remains to be seen. Again, though, we're spoiled, because as the president said in his speech, they've accomplished more in 43 days than a lot of administrations accomplish in 4 years or 8 years. And I think we're just used to the immediate gratification. And so now when something doesn't go exactly as according to our plan, we're like, wait a second. So I guess I should cut her some slack. Ron, talk to me. What's happening?
We're trying to get him on, Brad. So we're working through the technical issue now.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So we're having some technical difficulties at the moment with Peter Schwartz. We will get to him as soon as we possibly can. Hang on just a minute. Aha. Since we're going to get into some pretty heavy stuff, I did want to. I think I was pretty harsh with and not that the Oscars really matter, but the fact that the Oscars were given out on Sunday night, and again, the critical drinker did come up with a brilliant response to the Oscars. Let me just play a smidge of what the critical. I don't know if you are in a position to punch this up. Okay, this is and it's the critical drinker, so there might be a word or two in here if you are easily offended or if you have the volume up at work. Here's your warning in 3, 2, 1.
Awards season. If there's one thing I enjoy less than spending a couple of hours slogging through some tedious, mediocre piece of Hollywood slop, it's spending a couple of hours slogging through some tedious, mediocre awards ceremony where Hollywood celebrities who flew in on private jets wearing $10,000 dresses preach to us about the evils of capitalism and how we all need to work together to fight climate change or save the Ukraine or whatever.
Okay, first, that's Patricia Arquette. What the hell happened to her? That's my first question.
Third popular thing is this year. It's like your average Scottish wedding. It's boring for the most part, but there's always a chance of a fight breaking out.
Okay, that's the other thing. I'm starting to wonder if the Will Smith, Chris, what's his name, slap was real or not. I know that's like we've already walked down that road, but look how what's his name, Chris? Come on, Chris Tucker, not Chris Tucker. What the hell's his name, Ron?
Chris Rock.
I knew that. Thank you, Methylene Blue. So Chris Rock had his, watch how he's got his face out there. I mean, he's got his face stuck way out for Will Smith.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder if that was real.
It was. Yeah. I mean,
right?
Why would Will Smith walk up on the stage during a live show and smack Chris Rock?
I'm starting to wonder.
I think it might have been a setup.
I think this whole thing, we may have been set up there too. Now, I don't know what they offered Will Smith in return because his career kind of went right down the crapper at that point.
Was a chance of a fight breaking out or some drunken arsehole making a fool of themselves during their speech.
But
sadly, though, this year it was not to be. The 2025 Oscars were notable precisely because of their lack of controversy. There were no big upsets, no shocking wins or losses, no outrageous speeches or inflammatory rhetoric. Damn, man, even Mark Hamill managed to keep both his pants and his Trump derangement under control for the evening, proving that he truly must be a good actor because he can pretend not to be a crazy person for a while.
Right.
Conan O'Brien, one of the few late-night talk show hosts who isn't a creepy, manipulative retard, hosted with his usual laid-back, self-deprecating style, which was just as tolerably okay as you'd expect from a guy who's been in show business longer than most of us have been alive. He delivered a few pointed jabs at his fellow celebrities and one or two at the Orange Man, but most of his jokes were pretty safe and predictable and, well, fine, I guess. I have to admit, though,
this
one of the
right
most
here.
unintentionally hilarious moments of the night was watching Rachel Zegler waddle out on stage with Gal Gadot to present an award, looking like a small, petulant child reluctantly going clothes shopping with her mum. Honestly,
right?
Look at the
I
difference
thought that was
in
a
height.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, is Rachel Zegler a midget?
She's just small. I think Gal Gadot is tall.
It's Gal Gadot.
Okay, Gal Gadot. I think she's tall.
Why do you hate the Israelis so
I don't,
much?
dude. Not her.
Oh, she's the only Israeli you don't hate? I see where you're going with this. She's just, I guess she is incredibly tall, but Rachel Zegler just looks like a little midget next to her.
She does.
And I was going to bring up a point about Honora, and I will because I may have been too harsh on that, but I know that we've got our technical issues ironed out, as they say, so we'll get to Honora here in a bit. Right now, joining us via the incredible technology we have in the United States is Peter Schwartz, who is a pardoned January 6er. Glad that you could make it today, Peter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And I know when you were supposed to be on last time, you and Jessica were driving to CPAC, and I know there was some weather, and you couldn't make it, and would much rather have you be safe than trying to rush and get there early. But first of all, I want to talk about CPAC since that's I just brought that up. What was your experience at CPAC, and in particular, can you talk a little bit about Stephen Sund, because I know that that little clip of you interacting with him came out, and it seemed a little strained. What was that? What was it like seeing him?
Well, we were highly disappointed that Julie Kelly let him go on during her stage time, and she didn't refute any of the narratives that he was pushing, because he's still saying that January 6th is an insurrection and that we were all domestic terrorists and stuff like that. And I feel like if there's anybody that would know in the American people that we're not that, because he had the intelligence and stuff like that, it really should have been him. So it was highly disappointing. They came and handed us his book and stuff, and they're like, here, go get in line and sign and stuff. So while I'm standing in line there, I read how he's like, there was 58 insurrectionists to each one Capitol police officer. So I saw that, and I said, well, I mean, I'm not comfortable getting a signature from this guy unless I address it to him. And I asked him to sign the book. I said, would you sign it to a victim of the Fedsurrection? And that was upsetting to him. So
did he sign it?
I just wanted him to tell the truth,
Did he sign it that way?
No, he ended up not signing it that way. He wrote to a victim of January 6th and then signed his name to it. So he said he was going to meet in the middle. And I didn't really want to didn't want to cause a problem there, but it was something that needed addressed, and I wanted to call this out to the public. So that's why we made that video, so the American people could see that everybody's praising this man, but he doesn't have the right position. He said in his speech when Julie Kelly turned his time over, he said, well, you should never know my politics. You know, I said, if I'm a police officer and you're a citizen, he said, basically, we should not know each other's politics. But then he turns around and has this book pushing a left-wing narrative. And I thought that was a little hypocritical, and I wanted to address it.
Is there, first of all, tell us your story of January 6th. Why did you go? What happened when you got there? Just kind of give us a summary of what happened on that day.
Well, I'm a pipe welder, and I travel for work. So I happened to be in Pennsylvania, which was pretty close to where it was at the time. And I'd always wanted to see a Trump speech. I knew this was going to be a historic one. So I was married at the time. I went there with my then wife, and we really went there to watch Trump speak. And we knew there were some events going on at the Capitol, but, we weren't clear that it was going to, we had no idea it was going to turn into that. And I imagine none of the real Trump supporters really knew that. So as we went down there after the Trump speech, there was a lot of agitators and provocateurs who are already down there because they miscalculated the fact that Trump's speech started a little late. So they had already started this, agitation and beginning the riot down there before the actual Trump speech people had arrived down after the speech. So by the time we walked down there, it was a completely happy environment. It was unbelievable that whole day, just like all walks of life are talking and getting along and everybody agrees. And then by the time we showed up to the Capitol, it was a totally different scene and we couldn't see what was going on. So we were trying to get a closer look, but we weren't close enough to where the police were in these lines or any of that to see it. So, the girl I was with at the time, she held her phone up, and at 59 seconds into trying to see, because we're trying to see over the crowd with her phone like that, at 59 seconds into it, there's already a sting ball grenade that buzzes through her hair, and we're under full attack. So all the police, there's a police line way up here, and they're not really, I guess they are having conflict with the people up there, but they're firing munitions way over their heads into the peaceful crowd where we were. So we were under assault for a good 20 minutes. It was CS gas, it was sting balls, mace. We were under full attack, and we had no idea what was going on. We just walked down there from the happiest environment I've ever seen. I've never seen that many people on such a positive vibe. And so we were stunned by it. And so then at one point, I guess the police line that was up there collapsed or whatever. They withdrew, and they bottlenecked everybody into this little area. And they're macing us as we come through. It's chaos. And so they left which later in video I discovered was a planted bag of mace, because I discovered later in video that they had packed up their munitions 60 seconds before they let this line collapse, and then took these duffel bags and slid them down the wall for people to pick up. So I pick up these mace canisters, and I just try to keep them at bay with some indiscriminate spraying.
Right.
And
let me stop you there for just a second. This is the first time I've heard anything about these bags of mace. So they just and was it mace or pepper spray? Is there a difference? Does it matter? Whatever it was, they left these duffel bags. Did you see the police leave them, or was it? Did you just see the bags there? How do you know what the origin of them was?
On that day, I just chanced upon them, so I was unaware. But later, we were in the DC jail, and we had it was called evidence.com. So they gave us these learning tablets because there was 14,000 hours of footage they were given to us, which really was Brady violation, because there was actually some 44,000. They just gave us a 4-hour window, so we couldn't see all the setup and stuff that went into this. So when we're reviewing all this footage, we started discovering things, and I saw this video clip. And when I had picked those up, there were two guys beside me who were, I would say clearly they were plants or some type of, they were on the wrong side of it. They were walking up behind me, and I guess they were supposed to have gotten that bag. So when I picked it up, they both spun away talking into their shirt collars and then went down to the police and start pointing to where these bags were supposed to be and stuff like that. So there's a lot of nefarious acts in that day that haven't really got publicized and stuff like that. It was highly infiltrated. It's the largest government entrapment scheme in the history of our country. And there is just so much that still needs revealed yet. And I mean, it's details like this. Like, I wouldn't say that this particular detail that I'm describing is the game changer. I mean, that's not the one that's going to shock America. But when you take the combination of all of these type of events that have happened to each one of us, it is definitely a Fedsurrection.
Yeah, no doubt. And we all knew, at least a great number of us knew out here, that there was something that wasn't right about what happened that day, that there were some people, plants within the crowd that we've now, it's been revealed in dribs and drabs that the FBI had people, whether they were planted there, whether they were confidential, informed, whatever they were. There's a lot of wordplay that goes on, but we know that there was some sort of a plan behind all of this to get to try to frame this whole thing as an insurrection. But again, if it was an insurrection, it was the worst insurrection in the history of mankind, because nobody was, ready for it on the insurrection side. And then to hear about these bags of mace, because initially it was, no one had weapons. And then somehow they were able to say, well, we found a person with a club and with another person with a gun. As it went on, they somehow were able to find these different examples of people having quote unquote weapons. And now we find out that they, left bags of mace standing by. So I was going to ask you, because there's a picture of you from a New York Post article from 2023. And it shows you with a can of mace. Is that you in the circle there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's as you can see, my face is doused in mace. This is after being sprayed 14 times in the face, and my reaction to it after 20 minutes of being attacked. And I never actually hit anybody with that mace, but I mean,
it's Ron, who were we talking to that had the picture of, was it Jeff McKellop who had the picture of him spraying off camera?
No, no, that was,
who was that?
Josh Black.
You need Josh Black?
Joshua Black. Yeah.
Okay. There's a pit. Why isn't that name for some reason doesn't ring a bell? But there's a picture of him spraying something off camera, right? And there was never, it was in the caption, it was he's spraying police officers, but we never saw that he was spraying police officers. So there are all these pictures of people like you holding things that, all right, I mean, how do we know it's not, a vicious tiger on the side of the camera that you're spraying the mace at, which, again, was all part of the manufactured narrative to make all y'all look like, assholes and criminals, which was not your intent, right? I mean, were you there to cause any problems?
Absolutely not. I didn't take that mace there. That was mace that I found that was planted. It was the same stuff that they had just sprayed me in the face with 14 times. You know what I mean? So,
right.
It's a reaction, and I mean, I think it's an understandable reaction. I mean, everybody thinks I guess the narrative they're pushing is that they can come up there and just beat me and my then wife to death, and if I get upset about it, then I'm the bad guy. You know what I mean? And I think that's unreasonable.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And the fact that happens in, just as an example, in domestic violence situations all the time. You'll have one person, hitting the other one, and then the other one lashes back, and that's what is captured in an image or, in video or whatever. I know, because I've been there. But with you going there, and oh, by the way, the headline right there, man gets 14-year sentence for the jet. You got the longest at that point in time. It was the longest sentence handed down. Is that right?
Absolutely. And what I got the time for, I got numerous charges, but that the 14 years and 2 months sentence, what that was stemmed from was obstruction of an official proceeding. And that's the 1512 charge that most people have heard of by this point. And after after where that picture took place, the crowd swarmed us up towards what they refer to as the tunnel. And when we were up there, they said, they're hurting people in there. We need men to go in there and help out. So we walked up to it. We saw what it was. It was just amazing. We turned around. We left. They started breaking windows, and I left the Capitol grounds and went home. Once they started breaking the windows, I thought this was just way too crazy and way out of control. I mean, defending myself is one thing, but I wanted no part in the vandalism or any of that stuff. So I left. And the interesting part about me getting the 14 years for this charge is that, like I said, they had already started this before the Trump speech ended. So by the time we arrived down there, Congress was already in recess before I set foot on the Capitol grounds. And then when they started breaking windows, I never set foot in the building. So how they gave me 14 years for obstructing an official proceeding is crazy. And if you're familiar with the way these court cases work, they have to have a mens rea, which is an intent on any felony charge. So what they had used for intent was on January 4th, I had received, I guess it's like a survey type text where it said, hey, it's Ted Cruz. I'm going to object to the certification of the 2020 election. Do you support me? And I responded with 2 words. I said, yes, sir. And that was it. And they said that was mens rea to prove that I went there that day to cause insurrection and disrupt Congress and all these things. And that's absolutely not true.
That's in this image. This image right here, is that, because this is kind of an iconic image. Is this and I don't know if was there more than one tunnel there?
No, that's what's interesting about the grand scheme of this. No, that was the only place where there's conflict. So the way they played the footage is there was a conflict going here, and this just coincidentally happened to be the side of the building that I was on. There's a conflict at this door, but the Capitol building itself is enormous. I believe it spans more than 3 acres, just the building itself. And all of the other 60-some entrances that go into the Capitol, there was no conflict. There's police officers letting the building in. So they play this footage extremely deceptively. They show this conflict, and then they show people streaming through these doors that were open for them, and people were invited in. And it gives the impression that the entire Capitol was overrun. And to people that can't think this out, they're like, oh, wow, they're taking over the country. But, I've tried to explain it very simply to people numerous times that I've been at my job for 30-some years. And if I go sit in the boss's chair, I don't suddenly become the boss. There was an insurrection that day, but it was not by the Trump supporters. That was the third leg, in my belief, of the coup against the country.
This first, the window breaking. You saw, and again, this is the iconic image that I have in my mind of the windows being broken. Was the guy with the 2x4, trying to ram it through and eventually breaking that window that was caught on videotape. Was that what you saw as well?
I didn't see the guy with the 2x4 per se that day. I mean, I haven't reviewed video footage, but I saw him with a baseball bat banging on the window, and they already had one window broken, and people were like crawling in it and helping each other through it. And I said, well, this is just a little more than I'm signed up for. I don't know what's in that building that I would want to trespass in there like that anyhow. Now, I would say this. Had I been at one of the doors where they opened the doors and invited people in, surely I would have gone in. I wouldn't have seen anything wrong with it.
Right.
I believe this is a different location of the building.
Okay. Yeah, and then that's obviously not a 2x4, so this is another location, because we all saw those and we all condemned anybody who was breaking windows at the Capitol or causing physical damage to the property or hitting somebody else. Although because there's no real way to justify this at all that I can think of. When you capture an image of somebody hitting somebody, you have no way of knowing what happened just prior to that. The guy, that's throwing the punch could, could have just taken one to the jaw, and he's swinging back in defense. So, that one, you can set up the image that way. In this instance, I don't know, other than the guy's breaking the damn window or door or whatever that is. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. I guess maybe
it's like a delinquent teenager or something.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And they knew that these images would be captured by the media.
Right. There was a lot when I was at CPAC, I met some other people, and a lot of the January 6ers, we got together and compared stories and stuff, because there was a lot of them I didn't know since I was in the first wave of arrests. So I was in the DC jail for a little, like 2 years and 3 months and stuff before they sent me off to the maximum security penitentiaries. But so a lot of the people that came later after that I didn't know, and I was comparing stories with them, and they were telling me like a lot of the stuff they had on footage that they were over there, the famous picture of the people crawling the walls. He said those people were, he said they definitely weren't Trump supporters. He said they would crawl up that wall, get on the stairs, walk back down the stairs, and go crawl back up it again. And they just kept doing that over and over. And that was all for optics and stuff.
That is, and let's see if I, this one right here, that one right there.
Yeah, right there. Said these people would just repeatedly keep climbing the wall. And obviously that's for the photo shoots and for the images and stuff.
That is, I would say it's amazing, but it really, nothing surprises me anymore. I want to talk to you about the your time in the prison and about the judge as well. But I have to, what we affectionately know around here is create the hole. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll talk to you about the prison on the other side here on the Daily MoJo.
Where political correctness comes to die. The Daily MoJo.
Over in the Rumble chat room, Crafting Freak, we were at Great Wolf Lodge in Virginia that day. I guess it's good we decided not to go. A lot of people wanted to be there in D.C., but they, for whatever reason, they chose not to go. And I suppose in retrospect, it probably was a good thing. That way you aren't faced with tons of legal bills. Wombat Mommy says, why don't we just admit it now? Pelosi, Miley, and the mayor of D.C. wanted the police killed. Don't disagree at all. We are talking with Peter Schwartz. He was one of the folks at the Not an Insurrection in D.C. January 6th of 2021. And you've got an incredible story, Peter. And it's, the 14 years, when you were handed that sentence down for, again, what did they, what was your, what did they convict you of? It was...
Well, there was 11 different charges. And
okay.
I don't even remember them all. They're all fabricated, but the 14 years itself was for the obstruction of an official proceeding, which is the 1512 charge, which the Supreme Court overturned. And like I said, I never set foot inside that building. They were already in recess before I even arrived on the grounds. And it was just ridiculousness. I don't understand, except that I did speak out a lot. I don't understand how they chose who to charge with that. So I did get it overturned, as a matter of fact.
You did get it overturned? Tell me about that.
Well, ironically, I got my whole case was reversed and remanded. All 11 charges were overturned by the appellate court, but they dragged my appeal out for long enough that it only got overturned. The appellate court kicked it down to the circuit court. They reversed and remanded it, which in legal terms, that means that they said this charge doesn't stand. We're going to send it back to the district court to reevaluate it because of the trial errors and stuff. So 3 days before the pardons, the appellate court reversed and remanded it down to the lower court, but the lower court had not taken actions. And I wasn't aware of this because my lawyers were trying to call me to tell me, but of course the prison wouldn't let me talk to them. So when the pardon came, I got released on the pardon, and it made all this a moot point, which was a little disappointing to me, because even though I'm extremely grateful for the pardon, because I wanted to come out of that prison in any way, shape, or form, I also didn't want forgiven for something I didn't do. I wanted exonerated in the right way, because I did not do anything. So I actually,
right.
I got both wins in a way.
Somebody said you were accused of hitting someone with a chair. What's the story behind that?
This all went back to them illegally confiscating my phone. And so I had made a joke because when I was coming back from DC, one of my friends had text messaged me and he said that, hey, I thought you guys were just going to a speech. And he's like, oh, yeah. I said, I just messaged him back, said, oh, yeah, well, we started a whole thing down there. There's chair throwing, and I threw one, you know what I mean? And I did not. I was joking, and he laughed about it. And then the later text, you could see I said I was kidding, right? But they didn't put any of that in the text message. And they found a flying chair that I wasn't anywhere near. And they had no evidence. There was never any evidence of me ever touching a chair. But the jury just took that text in an illegally gotten phone text and misappropriated it, took it out of context.
Wow.
And they gave me and even the chair that they did find thrown, the officer got up there and testified and said that it didn't hit him and didn't hurt him and there was no damage. So whatever the chair was didn't even do whatever they were claiming it did. And then
I would say
two other
unreal, but wow. Keep going.
It never ends. So I had 4 assault with deadly weapon charges total, and that they counted that chair as one of them. And then they had 2 pictures of me just spraying mace. They had early on in the case, they interviewed the 2 officers that were in front of where that picture was that you showed earlier. And both of those 2 officers testified. This was way early when I first got arrested. They said that they remembered seeing me there that day, but that I didn't commit any crimes. And so that never made it into the court case, of course. And then the 4th assault charge was at one point when we were standing by the tunnel, they're spraying mace in both directions, the police and the people behind us. And everybody's yelling, well, stop, you're just hosing us down with mace. And so they passed it forward. So I reached behind me and grabbed which I didn't know what it was at the time, but I grabbed a canister of mace. I passed it forward. That was another 10 years I was sentenced to, and those 2 people became my co-defendants. I have no idea who they are. I mean, I know now, after all these years, but at that time I'd never spoken to them. One's from Virginia, one's from California. We had never seen each other. But that was another 10 years. Now I got an additional 10 years running concurrent for, even though, like I said, I turned around and left once they started breaking windows. That was about 12 minutes after 3 is when I left, according to the video. And so I was out of the city long before 6 o'clock when Muriel Bowser imposed a curfew on the city. Well, she said that because this curfew was on, the court said that because Muriel Bowser imposed this curfew, that I disrupted interstate commerce personally and stopped Safeway from getting a shipment that night. And so I was given an additional 10 years for disrupting interstate commerce. I mean, it never ends. It's hang on a second. This headline over at CNN, again, going back to 2023. This is just a flat out lie then. Man who assaulted officers with a folding chair and pepper spray during Capitol riot gets the longest sentence yet for a January 6th defendant. You didn't assault anybody with a folding chair? And I did not.
It really, this is, and somebody in our chat room just said this story, this is not America. Bondi needs to look at the prosecutors. This had to have completely effed with your concept of the United States of America being, the land of the free. What did that
still
do to
does.
you
I mean, I'm outraged even still because even after, even though I'm free and I'm taking the steps, rebuilding my life and stuff like that, I know that when January 6th happened in 2021, by this date, which today is March 5th, they had arrested close to 1,000 people. I mean, from in that amount of time. But here we are in the new administration, and the government criminals are still walking free. Not one has been arrested. So it's not an issue of them being able to. I'm still outraged that this happened to me, and it's just being swept under the rug while the real criminals are actually roaming free and still fleecing the public and still undermining our country and doing everything they can to take the freedom from us. It's highly disturbing to me.
I can imagine. So you went home that day. When was the next contact you had from law enforcement after January 6th?
Well, I actually never contacted law enforcement that day. I mean, I was never actually physically close enough to speak to one. But
okay,
I had heard, I was.
When did they reach out to you?
Yeah, well, here's what had happened was after January 6th, I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong, so I certainly wasn't in hiding or anything. I live in Kentucky, but like I said, I'm a traveling welder, so I was working in Pennsylvania at the time, outside Pittsburgh, and this pastor, a friend of mine, had told me that the FBI was looking around and wanted to talk to me, and I didn't think anything of it. I mean, I couldn't make it back to Kentucky at that time, but I wasn't hiding from them. I just thought they just wanted to question me. And then a couple days later, 30 of them, when I'm standing out on my front porch, 30 of them jump out with the laser sights, and they threw a flashbang grenade, and they got the double-handled machine gun on top of an armed personnel carrier. And I was shocked. I mean, I thought they just wanted to ask me some questions because they knew I'd been there. And I was completely blown away by that.
And you were living, would you say in Pennsylvania?
Right. In Uniontown, which is right outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay. So they show up. Was it early in the morning? Was it 6 or what time of day was it?
I believe it was about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So it was
so they were
pretty early, but I mean, I get up early myself, so.
Right. I mean, because that was kind of the beginning of, from the outside looking in, the whole shock and awe thing of showing up in people's neighborhoods with 18 armored cars and lights and sirens and just trying to make a spectacle of it, which we all know was them trying to dissuade anybody in the future from ever standing up to the government again, as they tried to paint that picture. So you ended up in prison that day. So they come, they take you away on that day. Is that the last day of freedom for you? Or what happened there?
That was it. Well, they moved me around. It turns out, so one of the issues that turned up later in my appeal was they had told me at that time, they're like, well, your phone is going to a different location than you are. So if you want to get some phone numbers out so you can call people from jail, then you can go ahead and get that. So I'm already handcuffed and stuff, and I go and I put my thumbprint on it. And as soon as I do that to open it, one of the agents shoves me and the other one snatches the phone out of my hand. And they were trying to qualify that as a legal search and seizure. And of course, I wasn't very happy about this. And
no,
so I
can imagine
permission. Yeah, it's crazy. I told him I don't give him permission or anything like that. And they, the agent started laughing and said, well, we'll get a warrant. And I clicked with me right then. I'm like, they don't even have a warrant for me. They're arresting me, and they did not have a warrant even for my arrest. So they went and hid me in a jail in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. And of course, that Beaver County was trying to cooperate with the government, later on, years when that went to trial, and they kept sending the records of me being there. Well, the FBI kept saying, oh, well, this file's corrupted, you know what I mean? So they sent a paper document, and they lost the paper, you know what I mean? They were adamantly covering it up that I was in that jail for the couple days until they got the warrant, because they didn't want people to know that I had been arrested without a warrant, which is highly illegal. So, I mean, from day one, my due process is getting violated. It never ended. At no point did I ever start getting my due process. They take me from the Beaver County jail. They told me that, well, we're trying to put you on the federal system, but our computer system isn't compatible, which it didn't dawn on me at the time, but that's an indicator that jail was not a jail. It was not a federal housing facility, because otherwise their systems would have been linked. And that's why they were putting me there, to hide me until they got the warrant. And then 2 days later, they got the warrant. They released it to the news that they'd arrested me and all this, 2 days later, and they portrayed it as though they had done it that day, but I'd already been in jail. So then they moved me to Butler County. Then they moved me to Allegheny County. Then they moved me to Grady County and Oklahoma City. Then they moved me to Northern Neck, Virginia. and this is all like relative, like a week at a time, 2 weeks at each of these jails. And then they finally moved me to the DC jail where I stayed for 2 years and 3 months. And during all this time, I was pretty well in the dark. I mean, they're telling me that, well, you're in big trouble, but it's not really a big deal. You know, you'll probably be out, you know, a couple months and stuff. So that's what I thought I was facing. You know, I thought, you know, it was political. I was going to do a couple months in jail, and once it died down, they would let us go and stuff. But I didn't actually have my discovery, the evidence against me, or officially know what charges they were finally going to determine until a year and a half of being locked up. They didn't. I was in the dark, and I was I was trying to guess. Well, what did I do that day?
Did you at this point, were you taking notes? Were you making a record of everything that was happening to you, or did you just commit everything to memory?
Well, I did document everything, but the problem is that it's hard to keep your documentation because there's constant like cell searches, raids. Anytime you transfer to a different jail, they take everything from you. You're not allowed to carry a Bible or anything during these transfers. You know, I mean, it's just, they're going to make sure that you lose the documentation. And at one point I started trying to send some of it home, but they're messing with the mail and stuff too. Some stuff made it. I mean, it's really patchy, you know. It's difficult to keep track and document this sort of thing. And they do everything they can to cover their tracks. I mean, and they are good at it. I mean, you have to understand.
Yeah.
I'm just going in there as a victim of their justice. Well, not justice, the legal industry. I'm going in there as a victim of the legal industry, and these people are professionals. This is what they do for a living. They know how to cover their tracks. They know exactly what they're doing. I mean, this is their career, you know, and I mean, they are good at it.
So you're in there, you're getting bounced around from jail to jail. Your mental state, were you, I mean, I would have been terrified myself, and quite depressed. How were you handling it mentally?
Well, I mean, I've been through all the range of emotions, you know. I mean, everything from just brokenhearted to angry and scared, sad. I mean, you go through all of it, you know. I mean, there's no, you know, a day in jail is a long day. I mean, it's a very long day. Sometimes it feels like a week just between breakfast and lunch. And during that time, I mean, you'll peg out every range of emotion, you know. I mean, it's just, it's exhausting, you know. I mean, it's absolutely exhausting. And I always maintained hope. I maintained my faith in God, which was probably the only thing that got me through it, because I realized at one point when I wasn't dealing with a justice system, that it was just an industry and I was a pawn. I realized at that point how scary it could get. And I mean, they did at my sentencing, the prosecution pushed for 24 and a half years. That's what they were asking the judge to sentence me to. And wow. I mean, at that point, when they said that, I almost delusionally, I was happy because I thought, this is so ridiculous. Nobody's going to go for it, you know? And then the judge gave me 14 years and 2 months. And so, I mean, that was a gut punch. I just thought it was so entirely ridiculous.
Was this district judge Mehta?
Yeah, Amit Mehta, and he's absolutely the worst political hack. That's why Trump has cases in front of him, and that's why they've lined it up in front of him, because he is the worst. You know, that's why. So he took the Oath Keepers, all of the bigger cases like mine, and then the groups. You know, they put in front of him because they knew that he's going to make the biggest show of it. He's an Obama appointee. I mean, the man is terrible. I mean, but he's very intelligent. He's just evil. So, like, he is very good at playing it out so it looks like he's trying to be fair, but then what he's actually doing is tipping the scales. There's no chance for somebody to win in his courtroom. I mean, you have no chance.
The words, blasted Schwartz as a soldier against democracy who participated in the kind of mayhem, chaos that has never been seen in the country's history. You are not a political prisoner, he said. You're somebody who is standing up against You're not somebody who's standing up against injustice or fighting against an autocratic regime. I mean, when they, and I'm assuming you were standing there when he said this to you. Did you hear those words? And what was going through your head when he was saying these things?
Well, ironically, he had two phases of what he was saying during his sentencing. And he had like his actual opinion that he said, because he's like, well, it doesn't look like, it looks like you're a good son. It looks like you have a good family life. You've maintained your career. He said, it doesn't look like you're any kind of career criminal or anything like that. And he said all these things, which I was like, oh, well, maybe this is hopeful. But then like he flipped the switch and gave the media version. And at that particular part, what he said right there, he said something, I'll never forget this, because after he said that, he said, the country people might believe that you're a political prisoner, but we here in D.C., we know better. And he made a comment to that effect. And I realized just how narcissist and elitist this man really is, and that there is no crack in his shell, because he doesn't see me for what I've done or my act. He just believes that I'm one of the Trump supporters. I'm one of the country people, as he phrases it, and that I'm just inherently a bad person. So it doesn't matter what I did or didn't do. He's going to get me. And that's when it really clicked. When he said that, I realized just how elitist this man's mind really is. It was incredible to me.
That would have pissed me off beyond all belief. I don't know how you maintained your sanity through all this, because I would have.
I'm not sure I did.
I want to talk about that here in a second. Got to do the whole thing here one more time, and I want to talk about how they treated you in prison. We'll do that next here on the Daily MoJo.
You're listening to the Lunatic Fringe of American radio, the Daily MoJo.
Missy 13 in the Rumble chat room says these people definitely have PTSD and depression. How could you not? I'm hearing these stories, as we've heard on several occasions now, from not only Peter Schwartz but Jessica and on all the rest. I am stunned. This is not America. This is not the America that I thought we lived in. There's so many comments. I'm just trying to. People are they're stunned. And let's get back to our discussion with Peter Schwartz, a pardoned federal prisoner, a political prisoner in this. I'm like you. I'm having a hard time calling it the justice system. It's
right. It's
because it's not just. It's not about just. Yeah, it comes back to it's not about what you know. It's about what you can prove. It's not. And I learned this going through a couple of divorces in the system. The court system has nothing to do with truth. It has nothing whatsoever to do with truth. It's all about how you can present, in this case, a fictional drama to the point where you can make it believable to, 12 people sitting on a jury. But the people that were in your jury, did you have any, I have no idea what they were made up of. I don't know ethnicities, genders and all that. And I don't know that we've ever, have they ever come forth and put do we know who the jurors were publicly? In
that information is available.
Right.
It is available. And the whole jury we knew it was a mess to begin with. I mean, my legal team was doing a very good job. They were researching the people as they would get up, and there was one Republican, but I mean, it was not on my jury in the pool, but I mean, that's a DC Republican. So that's pretty much to the left of Stalin anyhow. And they were all hardcore liberals. I mean, hardcore liberals. And these people, the interesting thing is that, like, everybody knows that people try to get off jury duty. I mean, that's a known fact. But on this particular instance, these people are like arguing and fighting to try to get on the jury because they all want to be the one that convicted a January 6er and stuff. So we had problems. I mean, initially on day one, there was this woman that was in the jury, and at the end of the day one, she said that she feels intimidated and wants to see if, because I had the two co-defendants, she said that the bald guy, which is me, was giving her a death stare, and she wanted to see if they could add additional charges. And I mean, the jury at day one is trying to add charges to me. So Judge Maida says, well, this is highly inappropriate conversation, and I need to make sure that that this kind of talk didn't happen in the jury pool, or else the entire jury pool is tainted, which sounds good, but I mean, it was tainted to start with. But so he calls each one back in individually, and he says, were you getting the death stare? And every one of them says, oh yeah, death stare. I mean, I was totally scared. You know what I mean? Yeah, you probably should add charges, right? So at the end of it, he says, well, I didn't really go through and ask who gave the death stare. So he calls them back in. The third one in, they've all said a different person. And so obviously they're just trying to chip in and, cause problems. So Judge Maida says, well, I didn't actually see this happen, but I wasn't paying attention and watching. He said, so the next day everybody's eagle-eyeing me, right? I don't look over there. My lawyers have coached me on courtroom demeanor and stuff like that. So I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm not giving any death stares. And at the end of day two, even with everybody in the courtroom hawking me all day long, I mean, it's unnerving because everybody's staring at me to see if my eyes move towards the jury and stuff, And at the end of the day, she does the same thing. Says, well, he did it all day again today. And this time it's undeniable that she's just fabricating this, right? And he should have just dismissed the jury according to his own logic that the jury pool would be tainted because they had all heard this. But he didn't. He said he dismissed her and said, well, we'll just tell him that courtroom demeanor has nothing to do with the facts in the case. So they dismissed that juror. And it was just problem after problem like this. Like one of my co-defendants, who I didn't know at all, had a terrible lawyer, and he starts showing. He showed over an hour of footage of January 6th that didn't have any of us in it. I mean, it was just like footage, and the judge was like, well, this is playing on, and we don't understand the point. And he said, well, I'm just trying to show what my defendant was not doing that day. And he says, well, you need to wrap this up. I mean, you could show a footage of the Denny's, and that's going to show what your defendant not did that day as well. I mean, this is a pointless strategy. So he starts showing more footage, and it gets to the part where the police officers getting shut in the door when they're all pushing on each other, each direction, and he makes a little squeaky noise. And one of the jurors jumps up and takes off running out of the courtroom. And so the judge says, well, I guess this is when we're going to take a recess, And so this juror text messages to the head of the jury and says, well, I'm going to need about 15 to 25 more minutes to pull myself together. The footage is too traumatic, And like, I understand it was conflict, but it was not traumatic footage by a long shot. And so, I mean, this is exactly the type of jury that I'm dealing with. And initially, even before the trial, we had filed a bunch of, they had 44 witnesses that we had excluded, which we fought really hard. Judge Maida did not want to exclude the witnesses that didn't know any of the defendants, had no connection, weren't on the same part of it, but they just wanted to get up there and testify that January 6th was the scariest day they've ever experienced. And we got most of those excluded. And out of all the witnesses that testified, not one of them ever identified me, mentioned my name, or mentioned anything that I had actually done. It's kangaroo court. And I agree with you when you say about the truth, because I say the truest statement I've ever heard about the legal industry is that it has something to do with the facts. It's very little to do with truth, and absolutely nothing to do with justice.
It makes me sad. But you have to know that. I mean, well, and let me get to the in prison. You spent 2 years. What'd you say? 2 years, 3 months? Is that in DC?
In a DC jail? I mean, I was incarcerated for 4 years total. But all right. As after that, they sent me to the maximum security penitentiaries, which are by far the most violent and dangerous prisons in the United States by a long shot. I was in USP Canaan for 15 months, and that's up on the New York border. It's in Pennsylvania, New York border. And then they transferred me. I did an interview on the Gateway Pundit, and Rand Paul had contacted the BOP on my behalf because I never should have been in a penitentiary. Though when we figured up my points, they have a calculation sheet. And if you figured them up honestly, I should have been in either a camp or a low security. But they added all kinds of enhancements to the point system and put me in the very maximum security. So when Rand Paul raised that issue and I had done that interview on the Gateway Pundit, they transferred me all the way out to USP Atwater, which is out in California, to the very polar opposite side of the country, as far away as you could get. And it's just tactics. I mean, it's just harassment. I mean, I very rarely was I getting mail. I never had access to the phone. My lawyers weren't able to contact me. The entire appeal process, the prison denied me my right to speak to my attorneys, which fortunately they were good and pursued the issues well. But I really feel like, I mean, the attorney-client relationship is that it really is my case. And although they did a good job without contacting me, it's really up to me which issues we choose and stuff like that. It's that in itself is an enormous, egregious violation of my rights, to deny me my right to participate in my own appeal and fight for my freedom.
Yeah.
Which,
Freebie 38 over in our the Rumble chat room says, did they force you to get the vaccination while you were in prison?
No, during that time, during the time that they were pushing that, I was in the DC jail at that time, and we were on 23-1 lockdown. So we would get 1 hour out to shower and stuff. And so they were, threatening to keep us locked up and stuff, but we're already locked up. And I wasn't going to take it regardless. I mean, so I was not actually forced to, but they pressured us. But the thing was they were already putting their foot on our neck so hard anyhow that the threat wasn't very convincing. Because I mean, like, what more can you do? Everybody else in the jails getting visits and phone privileges and stuff like that, and we're not anyhow. So I mean, what's the threat there? I mean,
I just this is also stunning. Every time I hear a story like yours, it breaks my brain. Tell me about what the conditions were like in the DC gulag. Just describe that.
It was, of course, jail itself is, just a miserable place, period. So, I mean, flat out, whether you're a January 6th political prisoner or just a regular inmate there, jail is definitely going to be unpleasant. So there's that element. But then on top of it, they put us in an old part of the building that was pretty decrepit, and they had reserved it just for us. So we weren't in, because of the high profile status of our cases, we weren't actually in the regular part with all the other inmates, which is probably for the best, I imagine. But it was the denial of our rights. Like they would do ridiculous things. They would we weren't allowed a haircut. I went 5 months one time without being able to clip my fingernails or toenails, which it's disgusting. It's a disgusting way to live. Sometimes you go for days, even up to a week, without a shower. The food, it'll sustain you. Of course, it's terrible, but the main thing is that, like, they would play politics. So when people started protesting outside of the jail, they would shut down our phone privileges. They would move us to some other hidden part of the jail and stuff like that. Nothing was actually going on. People are just standing out there protesting. And regardless of what anybody outside that jail does, I don't understand why I am being punished for it. And so that was a constant theme. It was always whatever's happening politically. Well, let's go crack down on those January 6ers. Even once the COVID restrictions finally, which of course in DC is very last to start lifting restrictions, and they started letting people have visits and stuff like that, that still did not apply to us. It's everybody else in the jail, which I believe holds 4,000 people. All of those people are allowed their privileges and haircuts and visits and, the freedom of mail and all that stuff, but not us. They kept their foot on our neck for no reason, really.
Did you see any signs of? Go ahead.
You go ahead. You may be familiar with Marjorie Taylor Greene had highlighted the fact that Warden Landerkin, who's you know, a DEI hire, I would assume, the Warden Landerkin said on her Twitter, it was Twitter at the time, said that if any of the Trump supporters show up in her jail, she's going to torture them, and went just long political rants about how she hated people and that if we show up in her jail, I made threats, you know what I mean? And of course, par for the course. I mean, she's still walking around living a wealthy life, you know, no consequences. I mean, that's acceptable in this world, you know.
The racism I've heard other accounts of extreme racism inside the DC prison. Did you experience a lot of that? Some of it? Did you see any?
Absolutely. I would say, you know, they would give us like propaganda, you know, for I forget who it is, the groups that would say that, you know, white people are dirty pigs and all that stuff. And they would give us printed propaganda and put that out in the cell. And when we first showed up, a lot of the DC, the way their system works is it's all DEI driven. So like if a black female lesbian woman, those are the ones who hold the high rank there. And so like below them, and like a lot of the officers that would work our specific pod that we would actually interact with, a lot of them were like actual Africans, you know, from Africa, from Uganda, and all those places over there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those people, when we got there, they were very prejudiced against us. And I mean, the treatment was terrible. But after time, and they started realizing that all the things that they were being told about us wasn't true, it got way more relaxed after, well, really, it was about a year where it was pretty bad. And then they started relaxing once they realized that all of the stuff they had been told about us and about us being racist was absolute lies. But I mean, it took them a while to figure that out, but they did start loosening up at some point, which was a relief.
I can't, again, it's hard to even imagine this stuff. What did this do to your, did you say you were married at the time that you were incarcerated?
Yeah. I mean, this destroyed the marriage. You know what I mean? Like, I hadn't been married for a long time at that point. It was a fairly new marriage. And then, so then I'm off and gone, you know, I mean, I don't agree with the decisions that she made, of course, but I mean, certainly the circumstances was an enormous factor in that, you know, so not in a really,
right.
I like to believe I would have made different choices than she did, but how can I say I've never been in that position? So I just kind of leave it at that with her.
I gotcha. Financially, how, I mean, you obviously you were employed prior to going to prison. How did you, I mean, lawyers cost money. You know, you still have bills to be paid, the house and everything else. What happened to you financially, if you can tell us?
Well, wiped out. I mean, absolutely wiped out. And, you know, by the time I had the lawyers who I went to trial with, they were my 6th and 7th lawyers. Because initially I had a lawyer in Pennsylvania who wasn't licensed in D.C. and he didn't know they were moving anyhow. So he was pretty good, but he wasn't licensed to take the case. So then I suffered through a number of predator lawyers who I just, they didn't have my best interest in mind. As a matter of fact, they were liberals and preying on people. And then we had a couple like high profile scammers show up, and they were just fundraising off of all of our backs, you know what I mean? And took on tons of cases, raised tons of money, which is unusual because usually a lawyer never fundraises for the client. You know, I mean, that's an unusual scenario that we've never seen before this. So I went through a number of predators. The Patriot Freedom Project helped pay for the lawyers that I ended up getting, which was fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't have got my case overturned without them. I mean, all these other lawyers are telling me, well, just go in there, tell them that Trump made you do it, and renounce all these politics and stuff like that, and we'd probably get you a light sentence. And I mean, the main thing for me was my response to that is, Trump made me do what? I mean, I don't know what you're saying that he made me do. And I mean, I'm my own man,
right.
Even if I had done something. it was because I chose to do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a puppet, and I guess that's a democratic way of thinking.
Right. Has this changed your view, your experience? Has it changed your view of politics? What's the biggest difference, I guess, in your mindset prior to all of this and now? What's your kind of your world or your country view, and how has it changed?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm sickened by it because I was interested in politics without question before this, but the level I'm interested in it now is just exponentially higher than it ever was. And after seeing what I've seen and going through these prison systems, I'm not just going to sit by anymore. I'm going to take an active interest in it. I'm advocating to get some changes made in this legal industry. And I've been given an opportunity to go and address and help work on like a Second Step Act and address some of the Congress people about making some real reforms. And so this is an opportunity for me that I'm gonna use it to the best of my ability. I mean, this is certainly not what I planned for my life, any of this stuff. I mean, all the way from January 6th itself to prison to today, none of this was ever a part of my plan. But I feel like God has given me a direction, and even though this through prison was not the path I would have chose, I'm going to take this opportunity and use it for the best of my ability. And I'm going to try to make a difference because there's a lot of people out there. A lot of people in these prisons don't belong there. The systems are corrupt. The way they're convicting people, convictions are their currency. So the judges, the prosecutors, even the defense lawyers, everybody in there thrives off of convictions because without the convictions, it doesn't justify the system. And without the system, they don't have their job. So they will get a conviction at any expense. I mean, there's even a lot of the inmates in there thrive off of convictions because they're hoping to get a lighter sentence. I mean, this is their currency because convictions boil down to money and power. And that's all it amounts to. So they will convict you no matter what. And I mean, like part of their tactics they use, like even on low level cases, they'll throw you in jail and they're going to hold you there on either no bond or a ridiculous bond until you decide that you want to go home. So you'll take a plea agreement or something like that. I mean, the whole system is never designed for justice. And that's why I can never call it a justice system at this point. It's simply a legal industry and it's churning just like anything else.
Were you and we just have about a minute. Were you a man of faith, a believer, religious, however you want to term it, prior to this experience? Has that changed?
It has not changed. I was a born again Christian since back 2008, and I've continued my faith. As a matter of fact, my faith has probably grown deeper since then. I would say that I've certainly got to experience God's grace in carrying me through this situation because, well, I would say that now I had my faith and now I've had my faith with its work boots on because I've been to the worst penitentiaries. I've survived. I think they put me in there expecting me to get killed or something because, I mean, the violence there is insane. I mean, there's 3 stabbings every single day. It's so vicious. I mean, people are getting sent there to be killed. And I think that's what they expected. And God protected me. And I'm sitting here in this interview with you today because of God's grace.
How do people find you on social media? What's your the best way?
On my Twitter handle is J6Pete. And it's at J6 Pete Schwartz.
It's on the screen there. Yeah.
Okay. And also, do you have a GoFundMe or a Give Send Go, anything like that set up?
I do. It's at givesendgo.com/J6Pete. And there's also a link on my Twitter handle. So.
Okay. All right. We'll put all that in the I don't doubt it. We'll put all that in the show description. And I can't tell you, I mean, just how amazing your story. It's not only amazing, it's heartbreaking. It pisses me off beyond words. to think that American citizen was treated this way. Is it surprising? No. That's the saddest part of this whole thing. It's not surprising to me that this sort of thing has happened in the United States, and it needs to be changed. And I admire your courage and your strength and your energy. And I appreciate you taking the time this morning. And I really do. I want to sit down in the near future when you have some time and just talk without a clock on us, just so you can get the whole story down on tape, so to speak, for future generations. I hope you'll be able to do that. So, did I miss anything? Anything you want to add? Good.
No, I would love to do that, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell some of this story today. It's very complex, and especially to people who aren't really familiar with this legal industry or the government corruption. I know it's a lot to take in, so I think we took a sufficient bite today, and I would like to delve into some of the deeper aspects of it at some point.
Excellent. We will do that. Oh, I don't doubt it. Peter Schwartz, again, thank you for your time, and we'll talk very soon.
All right. Thank you for having me.
You bet.
It's amazing, right?
It's just it's so much to absorb, and to think again that this happened to a citizen of the United States. Again, not surprising, but citizens. It's disturbing. Yeah. Yes, many citizens. It's disturbing and it's disgusting that this system did what it did to these people. And it was, let's face it, it was people abusing the system that did it.
To hear the stories about those jurors, I'm afraid he's death staring me. You piece of, it's just.
I know.
But again,
it's people.
That's why they tried them in D.C.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing. And did you say, you watched, was it Runaway Jury?
Yeah.
You watched as
yeah.
well? Okay. Again, that I would imagine Runaway Jury, that plot happens all the time.
Yeah.
More times than we know. And if you're not familiar with the movie, it's fascinating. But this really, Pete's story is just truly unnerving. All right, I guess that's it.
What do you mean it's last call?
That is 2 hours of incredible stories and audio deliciousness known as the Daily MoJo for today, Hump Day. This is Wednesday, March the 5th, the year of our Lord 2025. We'll find out if anybody learned a damn thing during the course of the program. Here we'll start over on the Wade. I could always count on Wade Robertson. Over in the X, he said taint. I was thinking the same thing when he said it, too. I was just so involved and immersed in his story, I forgot there was a bell. Thanks to everybody who was over in the Zoom room, including that snarky little smile on misinformation right there. And who else is with us in there, Ron?
Oh, we've got John, of course, playing with his joystick there. Whiskey driving the truck. Deuce 5. Thank you. Yep. Roger Rabbit, Wisconsin Jackhole. And there she is, Erica.
The Deuce 5. With her little bitty finger there. Thank you all for being in there, of course. Let's see, over in the Daily MoJo chat room, Patrick G. responding to Pope Freebie the 38th. We had to see how bad it could be so it could be exposed and hopefully fixed.
I hope they can expose it. I hope they can fix it.
Someone empowered needs to take this up and bring it to light. It's going to take a long time to do that. But
and a lot of work.
Has to happen.
Somebody has to be willing to put the work in. Yep.
It's going to take a long time. It has to happen, though, because I'm not sure all of us understand how completely effed up the systems in this country have been for some time now. I mean, I knew that they were upside down. But until you hear stories like Peter's, it's mind-numbing how badly effed up every system in the government is. It truly, truly is. Sir Rat Bastard says, God bless this nation and its citizens in Jesus' name, amen, and thank you, Father. Amen, brother. Let's see. Mel on 2017 said, okay, thanks E1 Guru. And thank you, Ron. I know you were sitting there in absolute, almost in a trance, I would say, behind the scenes, listening to Peter's stories.
Yeah.
Good for you. As for the rest of you, I think that's evidence that we, the people, must hang together, otherwise we shall surely hang separately. It's not just a phrase anymore, is it? 6 of the Tyrannus, resist stupid, and good night, Doc Thompson.
Wherever you are. See you guys.
Watch and listen at thedailymojo.com.